Hi, welcome to Writing with Sandhya. It's still Mystery Month on our channel, and I'm very excited to have a very vibrant uh, author with us, Apeksha Rao. And hi, Apeksha.
Hi Sandhya, so glad to be here. I've been following your videos, and every time you keep having very interesting authors come along. So I'm really glad to be here.
Yes, and of course, I had to have you as well. Uh, Apeksha, actually, I met her. We met before the pandemic, right? I think
Yes,
some of us authors had gathered for a cup of chai.
yes,
And yeah, it's too bad after that, we just
I
lost,
know.
we couldn't meet in person. Yes. And our book came along came a spider, and I bought it, and I was very excited to read it. But yeah, let's just jump right in, and we'll get to know a picture as we speak, through the interview.
Thank you.
So, Along Came a Spider it's supposed to be India's first young adult spy thriller. So, what motivated you to write it? And if you have the book, you can, of course, show it as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forget to do this usually, okay? I keep forgetting to carry my book around. This is Along Came a Spider for those of you who haven't read it. Uh, so the thing is, when I was a teenager, my most secret fantasy was to be a spy. So I
Uh,
was like this dowdy teenager with soda bottle glasses and greasy hair and stuff. And I used to tell myself, I'm actually deep undercover. And my handler is someday going to come and tell me, so you're a spy, and you know, we'll expose some organization or whatever. And I used to get bullied quite a bit, honestly. So I used to fantasize about, just kicking those people across the college courtyard and stuff like that. So all major filmy fantasies. So and when I went through a phase where I was only reading young adult for almost 2 3 years. I was only reading young adult books, so paranormal, young adult spies, fantasies, all of that, but and contemporary young adult as well. So when I began to write, it was very natural for me to pick up this particular genre.
okay, that makes sense. So this was sort of your parallel secret world that you were living in all along, and you brought it to
Yeah, I finally admitted to being a spy.
True. So yes, and congratulations! I heard that it's going to have screen adaptation pretty soon. So
Yes,
congratulations for that.
thank
So
you.
when can we expect to see it on screen?
That is something that the production company decides, but they are working on it. So it's been picked up by a company called Abundancia. That is, I don't know if you've seen Breathe and Sherni and Thori movies like that. So they are the people behind that. So they picked it up.
Yeah, no, and I can see that it would be a really good, like fast action packed kind of thriller. It just, for me, I just kept turning the pages. It was a real page turner, and I'm sure it will adapt really well on screen as well.
Thank you.
And yeah, actually, we talked about it in a bit. I think one thing which has come out really well in your book is all the characters. I think, like from Samira to all her friends, they all like come to life. And they're of course teenagers. Of course, you do look like a teenager, but I think so. I was wondering, like, how do you get inside your character's head because you have to sustain it for an entire novel, right?
Yes.
So,
So one thing is that you have to, if you're trying to write a genre, you have to read a lot in it. Like they
mm,
say, read 1,000 books before you try to write one. So I read only young adult for like 2 3 years, and I'm a person who reads about 3 to 4 books a week. So
mm.
that's how many I read. And I'm also this bratty teenager at heart. I'm never going to grow up till, even if I'm 90, I'm going to act like I'm 19. So it kind of comes naturally.
Yeah, and who knows? We don't know, right? You could be a spy for all we know. Like,
Could be.
masquerading as an author.
Yeah, that's my training. I'm undercover.
Yeah, we're just letting our guard down, and who knows what you're going to be doing next. And the other thing which struck me about your book was the plotting. It was very layered. I think you had multiple themes, multiple stories. Sometimes the side characters had their own stories as well, and they all intersected at times. It was while it was written for young adults, I think it was a little very complex as well. So how did you go about plotting the story?
The thing about young adult stories is that they read mostly by adults. The protagonist might be a teenager, but a lot of times it is adults who end up reading those stories. So they have to be, there have to be multiple layers in it. And I, so one thing I realized is that I don't like having filler chapters at all. Every chapter in the book has to add something to the story. So I did a fair bit of outlining, and I am a plotter by nature. I cannot dance for the life of me. So before I begin writing, I need to have an outline, a proper outline, and then I'll outline every chapter, and then outline scenes. So the current book that I'm writing, I have like 3 scenes per chapter outlined already, and I'm trying to fill them out right now. So I that's what I did even for Spider.
Okay, so like a really good plot, and I think you almost need it definitely, at least for a mystery book. I think.
Yes.
You'll just get so tangled you wouldn't know how to get out of it.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you read a lot and a few books a week. So I was going to ask you what your early inspirations were for writing. So what were some of the authors that you read? Who were some of the authors?
It depends. It depends genre to genre. Okay? So, like I love romance as well. So I went through this phase in college when all I read was romance. So I began reading very early in life. So I think I was around 4 or 5 when I began to read. And when I was in school, I used to read a lot of the classics. So I finished reading the classics when I was in school, and when I hit college, I was like, time for romance. So I read a lot of that, and then I discovered, of course, all the popular thrillers. And when we were in college, it was Sidney Sheldon, Arthur Haley, Robin Cook, medical thrillers. And now I love writers like Claire McIntosh and Lisa Jewell and Peter Swanson, Ian Rankin. So I read a lot of those. So those are some of my and Indian romances. I love Indian romances, and 2 of my best friends write really good romances. So I read a lot of their work, Anjali Vajid and Shilpa Suraj. So
yeah. Yes, we interviewed Anjali on this channel actually last month. February was Romance Month, and I have interviewed her. Yes. Yeah. So according to you, and I can see it like from all your reading that I think that does show up in your writing. I think the writing is also really good. There is a lot of books which come out nowadays, and of course, everything has a good story, and it's well written. But I think I was also struck by the writing in your book. So according to you, what are the elements of good writing?
the most important thing I feel is show, don't tell. This is very commonly told to all writers, but we don't really understand how much it impacts a story. And I find this in my own writing as well. Like even when I compare what I'm writing now to Spider, I realized that there were instances where I was telling, not showing in Spider, and now I can see the difference. And there is a very important thing that my friend Anjali told me. She taught me this, and then I went and researched it, and I read up on examples of it. Head hopping. Like when you're writing a scene from one character's perspective, you have to stick to that. Especially when it comes to thrillers, you have to stick to that perspective, because that makes the scene really tight. If you're hopping into other people's heads, like, okay, there's this girl who's witnessed a murder, say she's witnessed a murder, and there's someone who's a detective, and suppose you're writing the scene from the detective's point of view, you cannot go and write anything that the girl is thinking. You can write what what the detective sees. So the girl might say something, he can hear that, or he can see her behaving in a particular way, but you cannot talk about what someone else is feeling at that point. You have to give a scene break and allow that to be another scene. And that's something that I didn't know, to be honest. I was used to. I'm not a trained writer. At least now I did Anita's Attic, but before that I was completely untrained and raw. So I would just write what I felt, and these are the small things that make a story tighter and make a lot of difference.
Yes. I think all the nuances. So I think, yes, I think attending any writing courses or having mentors or learning about writing, I think helps you hone your craft.
Yes, definitely.
It's not just about having a great story idea or even great characters, I think.
Yeah. Because every story is good. Every story is good in itself, and it's how you write it, how you tell the story that counts.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Yeah. So when you've completed a story, so I think you mentioned you have some friends, but whom do you trust for, let's say, objective and constructive criticism of your work before it hits publishing, right? Or before you send it out?
These two, Shilpa and Andali, I trust them blindly because one is that they read as much as I do. So, to know whether something is good or no, first you should know what good writing is. So, they are connoisseurs of writing. So, I can blindly trust them, and they're brutally honest with me. I'm brutally honest with them as well. So we have a nice critique group as well, and if something doesn't work, we're very blunt about it, saying, okay, this doesn't work, and it can be fixed. So if they tell me this is not working, I'll do whatever it takes to fix it.
I think it's nice to have a tribe like that, right? So I
Yes.
think yeah, to help each other. So yeah.
Yes.
And I remember when the book was launched, I think I just heard a lot about it all the time. I think there was a lot of press. You had attended a lot of things. So and this was your first book, but what are the various kinds of marketing efforts that you undertook for the book? And maybe which ones did you really enjoy?
So the thing is, my book came out in the pandemic, right? It came out just, I think, towards the end of the first wave. And it was a very bad time to launch a book, honestly, because launching a book was the least important thing in the world at that point. So I had to be very sensitive of that, because of which, there were no launch events, there was nothing that I did. But I did have a good publicist. So Lipika Bhushan of Market My Book. So she arranged for press coverage, and I did a couple of lit fests, and then we did the TBB Lit Fest. So
Yes.
that happened around that time. So it gave me a bit of a push.
Yes. Yeah, I think in fact on the TBB Lit Fest, I think you were the moderator of the panel,
Yes.
and I was on it.
Yes.
Right. And my book, hoping it comes out this year, it's still, in the works.
It will.
Yeah. So, yeah, have you ever thought of writing under a pseudonym? And if so, for which book?
I did write under a pseudonym. I don't know if I told you this. I think we haven't met after that. So what happened was, I've always wanted to write a romance. Okay? And I'm a very avid reader of romance, but I always thought I couldn't write a romance because it's not easy. I mean, I find it easier to write a torture scene from a serial killer's point of view rather than write an intimate scene or, something with a lot of emotion. So emotion is still a difficult thing for me to write. I'm more inhibited about writing emotion than I am about writing sex. So I wrote under a pseudonym because I felt it was going to suck, it was going to be horrible, and nobody was going to read my book. And my friends encouraged me. They yelled at me, they supported me, kicked my butt, and told me you have to write it. So I'm kind of, I'm external pressure prompted. So I respond to external pressure. So I'm not self-motivated at all. So if you tell me you have to write a book, I can decide. I make a lot of resolutions, and I'm like, my New Year resolution for every year is write 6 books a year, which never happens. But if I set a deadline, if there is any deadline happening, I will meet it, no matter what. So what I did was, I think in February, I put this book up. I wrote under a pseudonym. I started the book and I put it up for pre-order on Amazon.
Oh, okay. So before you completed the book.
Yes, before I even had like 2 chapters in the book. I just had an outline, and I gave myself 1 month, and I said on 1st March I'm going to release this book. And it took me, I think, 3 weeks to write the book. So that was, I think, 2nd week of Feb that I did that. It took me I wrote the book in 3 weeks. But then I realized I needed about 3-4 days to rewrite at least 60% of the book. I had to rewrite it because of, my friends gave me feedback and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not putting a bad book out. I will do my best. So so Amazon allows you to extend the pre-order once.
Okay.
And then if you don't meet that date, then you're banned from pre-order for a year. So it was that level of pressure on me. I extended it to the 10th. So I finally released the book on 10th March. I had to upload it by midnight or I think early morning. And I think uploaded it around 11 o'clock at night. So I met that deadline somehow. So and then that book went on to win Amazon Pen to Publish. the Pen to Publish Contest 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So which book is it, or are you okay with sharing the pseudonym?
Of course. Yeah, my pseudonym is Alisha K. And the name of the book is The Maharaja's Fake Fiancé. It's a rom-com. I'll just show you the cover. Just 1 second.
Sure.
So, and after a year, I'm releasing the next book in the series. So on April 14th, I'm releasing the next book in the series. It's called Princess and Prejudice.
Oh, okay. Nice. That's a series. Okay. Yes, can see it. So it's a Kindle book. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a no, I'm amazed actually. So we calling you Apeksha Rao, but you're Dr. Apeksha Rao. You're a doctor, and you're also mom of twin boys. I know. We have to record this after your little ones had gone to sleep. So how do you manage? How do you find the time to write?
It's not easy at all. I mean, there are days when I cry because I want to write, but I'm too tired to write. But I realized that there's never going to be a better time. And this is something even Anita and I had mentioned during one of the attic sessions. Like I was talking to her about, I'm very tired all the time. The kids keep falling sick and stuff. And she was like, it's never going to change. There will always be something. So right now they're falling sick, then they'll have school. And if you want to write, now is the best time. Whatever situation it is, you have to write. So I actually got into the habit of writing at the dining table in the middle of all the chaos. So I will sit there. Now, of course, I sit in my room because the chaos follows me to my room. So, but I learned to do that. And because I don't want to wait until I'm 60 to write a book. I want to write a book now. I want to make the money now. I want to enjoy myself now. So that's how I started.
That's great. So I hope this inspires a lot of other people out there, because everyone does want to write, but I think it's something or the other which inhibits them. So I hope they got a lot of tips, during the course of this interview. Now we come to the rapid fire section, which is like a fun little section.
It's a coffee hamper for me.
Yeah, no,
Coffee with Karen.
We can meet with for coffee, like you get real coffee. But let's see how you do. Yeah, right. So if you could join the spiders in their adventures, what would be your avatar?
I would be Samira's mother. She's a kick-ass woman. I would totally be Alka.
Yeah. She is also a spy. Right?
Yes.
So that's good. Yeah. And I think we did discuss this once about using writing software. So do you have a writing software of choice?
I use Scrivener. I cannot write without Scrivener. So because I can't write in Word, I need to see separate chapters because I plot like that and I write scene by scene. So I need to have separate the chapter separate, and then I write the chapter synopsis in that. So then, at the end of the book, if I have to pitch it to someone, then I have the synopsis ready. So
yeah, that's fantastic. Especially if you do a lot of, if it's well plotted, I think that would really help. Yeah. So I know you wrote a prequel for your book. So firstly, what's the name, and will you write a sequel for this book?
So it's called the Itsy Bitsy Spider, because that's about how Samira wanted to become a spy. And sequel depends on the publishers. So in the current climate, people aren't doing series in traditional publishing. In Amazon KDP publishing, self-publishing, you can do series, and that does really well. But traditional publishing, I think standalones are a must.
Okay. So we'll just wait for the screen version for now. Yes. So since you're a reader, what book or books are you currently reading?
So I'm reading a book called 9 Lives by Peter Swanson.
Okay.
It's a thriller and very interesting thriller. That man he gives me writer's envy, and so there are a few writers who make you want to cry because you can't write that well. So he's one of them. So I'm reading that right now.
Wonderful. And it's summertime in Bangalore, all flowering trees all around and everything. So what is your favorite thing to do in summer?
Eat mangoes.
Okay.
I'm a mango girl. For me, mangoes herald summer. So the minute summer starts, I have to eat amras.
That's lovely. Yes. And finally, so you mentioned that you mentioned some of the books which you're releasing. So, but what are you working on next, and what's upcoming for you?
So I have a children's book that's releasing in June. That's with Penguin. That's for the 6 to 10 age group. It's called Akbar Birbal and the Haunted Gurukul. And
Oh.
I'm currently writing a historical thriller set in a 19th century palace, which is driving me nuts. But yeah.
That's more complex, and I think requires a lot more research and thought and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm already thinking of 5 questions I can ask you about that book. So when that comes out, we can chat again.
Definitely, I'd love to.
Yes. So with that, yeah, that wasn't difficult. We've come to the end of this episode. Yeah, so thank you
Lovely.
very much for joining. Apeksha, I wish you all the best with all your
Thank you.
books.
Thank you, Sandhya, and all the best to your book as well. I look forward to reading it.
Yes, certainly. Okay, bye for now.
Okay, bye. Bye. Thank you, Tarana, as well.